today we're going to be talking about pop fly priorities and talk about the chain of command. So we're going to start with the basics, and that is outfield has priority over our infielders, and our infielders have priority over our pitchers and catchers, okay? So now when we go further into it, our center fielder has priority over both of our outfielders. Our left fielder has priority over our shortstop and our third base. Our right fielder has priority over our first base and second base, okay? Now going into the infield, our shortstop has priority of everyone. Just like our center fielder has priority of the outfield, our shortstop has priority of our infield, okay? So our shortstop primarily has priority over second base, pitcher, and third base. Now our third base has priority over our pitcher and our catcher. Our second baseman has priority over our first baseman and our pitcher, and our first baseman has priority over our pitcher and catcher, and our catcher has priority of our pitcher. Pitcher does not have priority over anyone, but that is because they have a more important job to worry about. Their fielders are there to get the pop flies, and the pitcher, you're just there to pitch the ball, okay? So now we talk about who's at the top of the chain of command and who's at the bottom. So center fielder is ultimate, top chain of command, and then our pitcher is at the bottom. But that's not to say that our left fielder, our right fielder can't call off our center fielder because they are at the top of the chain of command, okay? So we have these priorities just so we know, but if you're sitting underneath the ball, a pop fly, and someone who's on top of the chain of command a level higher than you, that doesn't mean that you automatically have to give them the ball. So if I'm playing left field and I'm sitting, well, I shouldn't be flat-footed, but if I'm right underneath the ball, I don't really have to put much effort into getting that ball. That ball's hit right to me. But my center fielder is sprinting from center field to come to left field and calling me off. I simply just have to be louder and call her off. So certain coaches have certain preferences. For me, they wanted us to say ball, ball, ball. That's how we called the ball. It wasn't me, or mine, mine, mine. It was ball, ball, ball. 3 stern balls, okay? So if I'm calling ball, 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 yet my center fielder also says ball, 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 I either back off and give her that ball, knowing that she might have the better angle, but if I know I'm sitting right underneath the ball, then I'm going to give her another ball, 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 letting her know, no, I got this. And obviously with the ball hit in the air, we don't have time to be like, no, it's mine, and argue. We're just trying to get the ball. So that's why we want that 3 ball, ball, ball. She's going to call ball, ball, ball if she thinks it's hers, and all I need to do is simply call ball, ball, ball again, another stern 3 balls, letting her know. And at that point, it just depends on the coach or depends on who you're playing around. On that point, for us, we would say, all right, you got it. Like, take it. Simple, take it. This way we knew that we're not going to collide. She heard my 3 stern ball, ball, balls after I called her off, even though she's higher of a chain of command with me over the priority. And so we don't have any collisions because that is the last thing we want. All we want to do is catch that pop fly. So do I have any questions before I continue? Better. Let's see. Everyone says sounds better. Perfect. Okay. No questions yet? Oh, perfect. Thank you. No. Okay. So with that being said, sometimes I know we've talked about it a lot as far as knowing who you're playing around, right? So I think I could talk to you guys about this when we were talking about the Bermuda Triangle. But for me as a left fielder at the end of my career, I knew that my shortstop was really good at drop stepping and getting behind that ball. So those balls that I might have to dive for, or I'm running in full sprint trying to reach at the bottom, those were difficult balls for me. But a drop step is fine, right? So if my shortstop's really good at drop stepping and she can get there a little more effortlessly than I can, being an outfielder, yes, that is my area. That's the area I should cover. But if I'm sprinting and might have to dive for a ball, rather than her just drop stepping and getting there, and regardless of either one of us might get there in time to catch that ball, if she has that better chance, I'm going to let her know and communicate with her like, you go, or you got it, because it's easier for her than for me to sprint in and maybe have to make a diving catch. We just want to ensure that we get that out. So a big thing with pop-up communication is when you're working on this is knowing who you're playing around, knowing what their strengths are and what your weaknesses are, because that's how we're going to be better teammates. And that's how we're going to ensure that we make those plays. So when we do pop-up communications, there's 2 things. Make sure you're being loud and calling that ball so your teammates can hear you, but also make sure you're being smart about the balls you're calling and balls you're calling people off for. because I've had two situations. I've had one being the person who got ran into, and two being the person who ran into someone because I thought it was my ball. So, little story time. In, I want to say 12 and under, I was playing center field, and I was a scrawny kid calling the ball. I had a left fielder who doesn't usually play left field and thought she had priority over the ball, because at that age you're still trying to understand your softball knowledge and your IQ and calling it. And I'm calling the ball 3 times, here calling me off, call it again 3 times. She's still trying to call me off, even though I was the center fielder who had priority. At that point, we ended up colliding, and I ended up fracturing my collarbone because she landed on me. So we have to be aware of, 1, who we're playing around, and 2, if someone calls the ball and they have priority, we need to make sure that we're respecting that. So yes, Callan, thank you for reminding me. Call it early and call it often. Sorry guys, I'm holding this above my tripod. It might be a little, there we go. So call it early and call it often. Be loud, and just know who you're playing around. Know who has know the chain of command, essentially. Know who's above you and at what point you're supposed to back off. So that's that story of me getting collided into, even though I had priority on the ball, and fracturing my collarbone. So, and then going back into me crashing into someone, same thing, situation of me running in for a ball, sprinting in, and not calling it soon enough. So same thing, being an outfielder, I know my area that I'm supposed to be covering, but having confidence that my left fielder, or my shortstop was going to catch it before I got there, I didn't want to call her off early enough because I didn't want her to back off if I couldn't get to that ball. So the situation went a little like this: ball right behind third base, that like foul, almost close to the foul line. I'm sprinting in, I might have to dive for it. She's drop stepping back. It's a little more of a deeper ball for her to drop step back. It wasn't just a simple drop step and catch it. So I didn't want to call her off too early because I didn't want her to back off the ball if she hears me calling, because same thing, priority. I have priority over my shortstop because I'm coming in for the ball where she has to go back, but I didn't know if I was going to get there in time, so I didn't want to call her off and her back off and neither one of us catch the ball. So that is my story of when I collided into her. Luckily, she got the ball, and I couldn't stop in time because I was coming full sprint in. So at that point, I kind of just grabbed her and tried to break both of our falls. But same situation. I didn't call it early enough, even when I thought I was going to get to it, and she didn't call it either. So both of us were just waiting for one of us to call it so we knew, but neither one of us backed off from the ball either. So being loud and calling it early are very important, because we don't want those situations. We don't want teammates colliding with each other. We want to just make that out. So before I sign off, does anyone have any other questions? Let's see. I'm going to scroll through here. Good information. Thank you. Okay. So, things to take away and things to remember. Call the ball early, call it often, and know your chain of command and who has priority over what. But also know that if you feel that you are in a better position to catch that ball, then you have the right to call it. But again, you do your 3 commands, your 3 balls. You hear them say ball to call you off. And if they are a chain of command and you think that they have an opportunity to get that ball, then you go ahead and back off, even though you're the one to call it first. Okay? If you feel like you're in a better position, give them another ball. But if they continue to call ball, at that point, if they are higher up in the chain of command than you are with the priorities, then you're going to have to back off. You don't stand there and just hold your ground, because if they're calling you off, they're calling you off for a reason if it's more than once or twice. And you're just hoping that the people next to you understand, 1, the priority, and 2, they're actually having the ability to catch the ball and they're not just calling you off to call you off. So understanding the game and understanding what plays need to be made. We have a question in this little thing. Let me see. Did the other girl get hurt? So back to my story when someone collided to me. No, the other girl did not get hurt. But because I was the one standing there trying to catch the ball and she was coming full sprint at me, then that's when she collided into me. So she essentially just landed on me, but me being a scrawny little 12-year-old, I ended up fracturing my collarbone. When you back off when you back off because you get called off, what else can you do? So if I'm playing left field and my center fielder calls me off, I don't just stand there. I get out of the way and I back her up just in case. So if I'm calling the ball, she calls me off and I'm like, okay, you're there and you can catch it, then I'm going to immediately get behind her and back her up in case she does not catch that ball, because we need that second line of defense, especially in outfield. There's no one else behind us. We have to count on our other outfielders. So good point, Coach Kellen, saying trust your teammates is so important. That is extremely important. And as you get older, you work with your teammates a lot more. As far as being in college, you see them every day. You guys are taking reps together every day, and you get to become more familiar with them, and you get to trust them a lot more. Let's see, what was the priority infield again? So infield priority. So like we say in outfield, center field has priority over all the outfielders. Shortstop has priority of all the infielders. And then from there, it goes to more of the reasonable, like our shortstop isn't going to run all the way to first base to try to catch the ball. They could in the situation of sun ball, but they shouldn't be running across the field just to catch the ball. So from there we go, shortstop has priority of second base and third base and the pitcher. Third base has priority over the pitcher and the catcher. And then second base has priority over first base and the pitcher. First base has priority over pitcher and catcher has priority over the pitcher. Pitcher does not have priority over anyone. Any other questions, guys? Let's see. Let me scroll through. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Sorry for our technical difficulties. Oh, one more question. When should I dive for a ball if multiple people are going for the ball? So if multiple people are going for the ball, and we kind of talked about this when we talk about the Bermuda Triangle, right? So you have your center fielder coming in, you have your shortstop going back, you have your left fielder coming in, and all these people are trying to get to that ball. And some might dive, some have to go back up the other players, we have to know. So that comes again with being familiar of who you're playing with. So when I discussed that, I said I knew I wasn't a good diver. If I was going to make a diving play, it was very last second. But I knew my center fielder could get a lot of ground when she dove, and she'd have a better chance. But now if there's a runner in scoring position at third base, I was really good at those pop-up slides. So I would slide, catch the ball, and be able to pop my body up to get ready to throw. Rather, when she dove, it was just to get that out. So knowing the situation and being safe and being careful. If all three of you are super close and you're going to get hurt diving, you're better off getting ready to make that next play. If you know 100% you can catch it and you guys aren't going to get hurt, then go ahead and make that last second effort, but also know who's around you. So know my center fielder is more than likely going to make that diving play right now, so I better back her up and get ready for the next play. So just trusting your teammates and being familiar with who you're playing around is going to be your best bet in any last-minute situations where none of you know what to do. No, okay, I know she's always dives for the ball no matter what if there's no other way to catch it. So knowing that, maybe you shouldn't be diving for the ball at the same time, but if you know you can catch it, then we go ahead and call her off. Communication is a huge part of this game, and it's going to help us all not get hurt in the outfield or in the infield, just on the field in general. So we need to make sure we're communicating with our teammates. Any other questions, guys? All right, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. I will see you guys next week, but be sure to tune in at 1 o'clock tomorrow. All right, see you guys. And